809 Hudson Valley Focus Live on WKIP on this Tuesday morning. Well, we were just had a nice conversation. I just had a nice conversation with Mike Cavanaugh, candidate for Ulster County District Attorney. We now turn to a different form of the law, and as I welcome Jeff Feldman. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're able to be in studio, and Feldman, Kleidman, Collins, and Sappe. You related a story to me. I said to you as I came, back in that we've been working for about 3 months, 2 months, 3 months to set up this interview for you to be in with me. And could you give a little synopsis as to why it took us so long?
I don't know how much detail you want, but it's a very complicated situation. I was involved in a medical malpractice case defending a local physician who was not in any way, shape, or form responsible for what happened to this young lady. And on the eve of trial, 3 doctors who were also sued settled for a significant sum of money. And the plaintiff's lawyer decided that he was going to go after my client with house money, I guess you could say, to see if he could get more. So I had to retain 7 or 8 different experts because the whole complexion of the case had changed. And then I had to prepare all those experts, and it was a very complicated medical situation. And then spent January and February preparing the experts and preparing myself on the nuances of these complicated areas of medicine. And middle of February, we had a trial here in Dutchess County that lasted for several weeks. And fortunately, the jury in less than an hour came back with a verdict in favor of my client. So I've been busy.
And Jeff Feldman, the reason I asked you to just quickly relate that had to do with my conversation I had an hour ago with Mike Cavanaugh. And I just want to drive home the point that in all different areas, whether it's medicine, whether it's insurance, whether it's legal, whether it's accounting, there's different specializations within those. And that's why I think it is so critically important. I'm talking with Mike Cavanaugh about a district attorney having the experience, expertise to be able to handle those cases in accordance with the duties, responsibilities there. Coming back to your law firm, the areas of responsibility. So the people listening to us now who may need legal representation, choose the firm who has the expertise in the area that you're dealing with.
I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. As lawyers, we're not allowed to use the word specialize.
Okay.
Okay. So we limit our practice to representing people who are injured in accidents, as well as defending doctors and hospitals and healthcare providers when they get sued for some form of malpractice or in licensure issues. And that's all we do, civil trial work. Mike's expertise is in criminal trial work. There are lawyers out there who do a variety of different things, and they're expert in all those different areas. They're very good at it. There are very few of them, but then there are a lot of people out there who claim to be expert in certain areas, and they're not.
Yes, and I think back, and it's got to be a good 20 or 30 years ago now, had to do with a client that we insured. It was a marine exposure and on a navigable waterway.
Right.
Very, very, very different area of law.
Admiralty. Yes.
Admiralty law.
Yes.
And I will keep making this point because it's so we'll stay away from the word specialize, but you want to be dealing with individuals who have proven expertise within the whatever the circumstances that you're dealing with.
Right. And in the world that we live in, doing the civil trials, you want to be dealing with a lawyer who handles civil trials, spends time in court, knows the rules of evidence, and knows their way around the courtroom, how to prepare a case. I mean, when I first meet with somebody early on in a case, whether it's someone who's injured in an accident or a doctor that I'm going to represent in a malpractice case, that first meeting, I'm thinking about my summation.
Yes.
What do I need to say to the jury And then once I figure out what the theme is, then it's the building blocks to build the theme in much the same way of building a house. You get a design set of specs and you get a set of drawings. And then you have a vision, and then you know how to put in the foundation and how deep the foundation has to be and whatever you have to do for footings and things like that. And then where the walls go, and you move along. And no different than building a house. There are changes along the way. You know, you get things happen and you have to change your focus and you change direction and you change your planning.
Well, to follow along with that analogy, that things go along and there are changes in the building codes, just as there are changes in the legal judicial system that have to be accommodated for. So, continuing education.
Yes, always. That's why they call it practicing law. You're always learning.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit more specifically. Tell you what we're going to do. Before we do that, Jeff Feldman in studio with me, and Feldman, Kleidman, Collins, and Sappe.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break at 8:15 and then back to learn more about the firm itself here on WKIP. 8:20 Hudson Valley Focus Live on this Tuesday morning. Jeff Feldman in studio with me, and Feldman, Kleidman, Collins, and Sappe attorneys. And Jeff Feldman, I want to make the point one more time about, particularly for people in business, but even for individuals, to have their team of people they work with, their attorney, their medical professional, their banker, their accountant, and have that. It really is peace of mind.
I mean, we represent multiple different medical groups. One group I'm now representing the son of one of the original founders of the group, and we've been representing that group for quite some time. There's another very large multi-specialty practice. We've been doing their work for more than 25 years. So I'm still with the same insurance company, the same advertising company, I have the same, plumber, electrician that I've had for years. I definitely believe in long-term relationships.
As do I, and I think listeners are well aware of that. The fact that having the people with the right experience for what it is you want to get done is so critically important. You said something to me. The microphones were off when I was looking at your website about our team. You're looking for some team members.
We are looking for some team members. We need to hire some mid-level associates, people with 5+ years of experience doing medical malpractice defense work, and people who have some experience doing civil trials and want to try more complicated civil trials. One of the things that's happened since COVID is it's become very difficult to find people who want to work in our field, and that, for whatever reason, we used to think it was geographic, being in the Mid-Hudson Valley.
Right.
My friends who have similar practices in Albany and White Plains and New York City are all going through the same thing.
I wonder,
we are looking.
Yeah. It has such a huge impact on us.
I mean, COVID's changed everything, so.
It really has. How many years have you been practicing?
I've been practicing since 1978.
Wow. And it's just
first 2 years clerking, 2.5 years clerking for Judge Williams in Monticello. And then I came to Poughkeepsie and worked for another firm that did medical malpractice defense work and plaintiff's personal injury work. And I was there for 5.5 years. And that's where I met Paul Kleidman. And then the two of us went out on our own in February of 1986.
I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question about how does somebody determine where there has been, need to contact an attorney? Do I go see somebody early on? I mean, my sense would be when you think something may have happened, you want to intersect it as soon as possible.
Early is always better. So to give you an example, in the car accident world, motor vehicle world,
yes.
If there's a motor vehicle accident and then there's a snowstorm or a rainstorm, the debris on the road, marks on the highway, can be obliterated, and that information may be crucial in being able to prove who was responsible for the accident.
Yes.
Similarly, if there was a product that failed and the product isn't taken care of or sequestered and then is damaged, it may be difficult to figure out what caused the product to fail. I would say the same is true in the medical malpractice world. The earlier is always better. Sometimes it's too early to be able to make a decision or a determination, but you can stay in contact with the lawyer and continue to provide them with information. And then at some point they can make the decision as to whether or not they want to accept the case. But earlier is always better.
Yes. And I was just, as you were saying that, Jeff Feldman, thinking about various experiences that I had with insurance clients over the years. And, especially in terms of getting and preserving the information, the evidence, absolutely critical.
Absolutely critical.
And the one that came to mind did involve an automobile accident. It was a fatality over on Route 9W up in the West Park area where you go down, and I think that's the Black Rock Creek that goes under 9W right there. Cold winter morning, the moisture from the creek had frozen on black ice right on there. And, our client lost control on the on that black ice, and the other vehicle coming the other way slid, and there was a fatality involved. Mm-hmm. But again, understanding what had actually happened as soon as possible and having that on-scene investigation went a long way to the resolution in that case.
There are multiple examples on our website of different cases that we've resolved for someone that was injured in an automobile accident or product failure, where the fact that the client reached out to us early so that we were able to secure the scene and get necessary evidence made the difference between winning and losing.
So go over then the areas of law that you are practicing.
So one main area is representing doctors, hospitals, healthcare providers when they get sued for malpractice, medical negligence.
As defense attorneys?
As defense attorneys.
Okay.
And then the other side of our practice, which is unique, is we represent people who are injured through the fault of another, provided that it's not a doctor or hospital. We don't do any plaintiff's medical malpractice work. So we get to see both sides of the fence and look at things both ways. And I think that sharpens your skills to some extent. But on the plaintiff side, where the person is injured comes to us because they're injured. It can be a motor vehicle accident, a slip and fall in a supermarket, a snow-related accident, product failure. Mm-hmm. A fair amount of the cases that we handle pertain to workers who are injured in the course of their employment, yes, whether through elevated heights or falls or other issues that happen in the workplace. We just recently resolved a case for someone who was asked to move a very, very heavy object. That object used to be moved on other occasions using mechanical hoists. And on this occasion, the foreman on the job asked that this group of individuals use 2x4s. And so our client was injured, sustained a bicep tendon injury that required multiple surgeries. Because they didn't use the mechanical hoist, a safe place to work issue.
Yeah. Going back to the medical for 1 second, and this would be, something that you would not handle on the plaintiff side. Involved my oldest brother who passed away a number of years ago during a heart procedure, and.
Sorry.
And thank you. And people were saying, well, you should sue the doctor. I put a call into the doctor. This was down in Florida, and he called me back pretty quickly. We had almost a 45-minute conversation. And this was a circumstance where, in the language the doctor used, my brother had refused a certain procedure and wanted to go this way. And I knew what the doctor, though, was relating to me was very accurate. And my brother would have been a candidate for actual open heart surgery. He refused it. And I knew that to be factual. My point in bringing this up is that even though my brother passed away, not everything, necessitates litigation.
Without question. So unlike arithmetic, 2 and 2 is always 4.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, the doctor can do the absolute correct thing. Different people respond differently, and there are complications involved in everything that the doctors do. And not everybody has a good result. And that's one of the things we talk about in jury selection with potential jurors is, like in this recent situation, this young girl sustained significant brain damage. And one of the things I talked about in jury selection was, does the fact that there's an injury automatically give you as a potential juror a knee-jerk reaction that somebody must have done something wrong?
Yes.
And you discuss that at length in jury selection to make sure that the people who are going to sit on the jury are open-minded or haven't come to some preconceived conclusion that because there was an injury, whether it's brain damage or death or whatever, that there must have been something that was done incorrectly.
And that's yes, and that's where I really wanted to bring that circumstance.
Kudos to the doctor for talking to you and explaining the whole thing.
And there were certain key words in that conversation that I knew to have been very factual. And there we go. That's what I wanted. Jeff Feldman and a full team of other attorneys there.
Yes, a full team that we hope is growing.
Exactly. Jeff Feldman, thank you very much for being in studio. And folks can find your website very simply at fkcs.law.
Yes.
Thank you very much.